Hi everyone, this is Carol from Practical Mystic. Thanks for joining me together at last. We are going to do the third part of the modified Celtic Cross Spread. And it's not going to be the conclusion of the spread because there's a lot of information I want to share with you that is the traditional Celtic cross spread, as well as how I have added to the traditional wording of the Celtic cross. I'm going to give you that today, but also what I have through the years of teaching it, through the years of using it, and through the years of learning the dynamics of psychology and numerology, what I am able to present to you on a on a deeper, more understandable level of everything that you can glean from laying out each of the 10 cards in the Celtic cross. So I'm going to try not to make this too long. There's a lot that I want to explain, and this is usually what I teach in Tarot 2. Of course, in Tarot 1, I teach the regular Celtic cross, and then we get into the deeper other areas. But I think anyone who's listening to my videos on YouTube already have a nice foundation and probably a great understanding of the basic Celtic cross spread. And we're just going to go and expand on that information here today very quickly. Okay, as you know, the first card is going to be the significator. And what I teach in Tarot 2 is that immediately when you do a Celtic cross spread, the card that's going to be crossing you is going to form a cross, and that is very important because this is your first part of the cross. Because remember, card number 5, well, I should say 3, 1, 3, and 5 are going to be your vertical line, and card number 4, 2, and 6 is your horizontal line. So you have your first cross, which is very important, and then you have additional information with the length of the next 2 cards. So I consider this cross number 1, and then when the other cards are laid out, it is cross number 2. All right, let me explain that a little more. If you listen to video number 2, you already had a feel of the energy of the client when you went to find the significator in your deck of cards. You saw whether this card was right side up or upside down. You also understood the cards before it and after it, and that indicated the mindset or the energy around your client or the seeker, as well as how they cut the cards into 3 piles. That was also additional information. So when you're at this point in doing the Celtic cross, you already have a sense of the energy around your client and your situation, which is why I do not ask my seeker or my client what their question is when I do a Celtic cross. 99% of the time, I will know or have answered what that question is by the time we lay out and talk about the 10 cards in the 10 card spread, and as well as the modified Celtic cross, which we're probably not going to get into today because I want to cover the additional aspects of each card's significance a little deeper than what traditionally that card indicates. So let's say I do not answer the question that the client or the seeker has come in. At the end of the reading, I will say, did I answer your question? And if they say, no, you did not, then ask them, of course, what is your question? And then I'll take out 3 additional cards and hope to answer that question and certainly try to blend it in to what the cards depicted. Okay, backtrack a little bit. This is why I believe if you understand the first two cards that come out in the Celtic Cross will really give you a wonderful feel, hint, energy, insight of what is going on. All right, so let's see if I can explain that a little more. All right, want to get my cards out here. And I'm trying to get the cards that I had all laid out for you. Here it is. Card number 1. All right, so here's your significator, okay? And of course, traditionally, this is what covers you. Way back when, in the movies especially, and even in the older books, you are taught to verbalize what that card is as you're laying out the 10-card spread. And that's fine if you like to do that while your client is sitting there. So the first thing you would say is, this is what covers you. I do not. I go ahead and lay out all 10 cards while the client is sitting there. And I do lay them out all right side up. Sometimes you're taught to, just put them down and then you reverse them as you go from card number 1, card number 2. I do not do that. I put all the cards laid out right side up when I'm doing the tarot spread. So traditionally, yes, this is what covers you. All right. And other people, it could be the inner self, and it could be the shadow self, and that is what I want to discuss with you today. This is the general atmosphere, the outer atmosphere of, and it's the first clue of what the influence or what the question is focused on. All right, so let's go ahead and do a mock reading. Let me shuffle these because I've been playing with them, getting prepared for this video. But let's go ahead and kind of get an example here. All right, I'm going to put this right here. All right, so this is what covers you. And I said this was the general atmosphere. You get a feeling of what is on the client's mind. And it's also known as the heart of the matter. And it's where you have put your energies previously, or what the inner self, okay, what the inner self is aware of at this time. So you might say to your client with the 5 of Wands, of course, you're not going to do that. I mean, yes, you can. I apologize. Let me take that back. You might be the type of reader that takes out the first card and talks about it immediately. I am not. I take out all the cards and then I evaluate them and feel them out by looking at the card above and looking at the card below, looking to the card on the right and looking to the card on the left, as well as take inventory of how many court cards, how many major arcana cards. I also look to see if all suits are represented. By suits, I mean wands, pentacles, fire, and water. And I look to see what numbers are repeated before I even start the divination and the interpretation of the Celtic Cross. So this is the first card that covers you, and because I'm trying to teach you immediately what that energy is before I take out all the cards, then yes, I do want to kind of give you an idea of of that energy immediately. And the first thing that would come to mind, of course, with the Five of Wands, which is fire, and five is usually a type of change or a type of choices. And and in the tarot, the five is a little bit more of a detrimental energy than it is in numerology. Yet at this picture in the Rider-Waite, Universal Rider-Waite deck that I'm using here today, you know, no one really seems to be too upset. And even some of the players in this role don't have both hands. It's almost like, hey, this is what I think. One of them is not even trying to strike anybody. He has it on his shoulder. So in a nutshell, there's a little bit of opposition going on with the client. Someone is talking and maybe trying to convince the client that there needs to be an understanding or a change to occur. So that would be the outer influence. So there is more than one person. So there isn't one person like there would be if it was a court card. Now on the inner self, then what are you struggling with that you seem to have a lot of ideas or a lot of voices going on in your head, and you're not quite certain which one is adequate, correct, purposeful, instrumental at this point. So there's confusion, which of course may have led you in to seek a tarot card reading to get some clarification. Now, as a shadow energy, it could be that the individual, your seeker, really has a self-identity where the personality self may be different with different people, or there's a change within the psyche of the client right now saying, do I want to be more assertive? Do I need to have more male energy, more fire energy, more life? Am I looking for stability by being more proactive? Will that help me understand and get what I need in life? So you could see a little bit of what goes on just by the first card. This is what covers you. And I hope that it helps you. So let's say that okay, a court card didn't come out, but I also want to talk a little bit about that. When we see a court card in this position, it can indicate not only that there's another person involved in the situation, but it could also be the seeker's inner self, the inner personality. And the court card, of course, would give you the character traits of what that inner self is or the alter ego is. So that's really important to understand. As well as if it's a court card, it could be that shadow self. Again, if it's what kind of court card, if it's a water sign, a fire sign, an earth sign, an air sign would give you the characteristics, the personality traits of that shadow self, again, trying to emerge from the client. Okay, I'm thinking this is going to be a long video. I almost can tell already. So this is what covers you, and we took that out. So now, let's put that, well, let's do this. No, we want to do this. This is what covers you. All right. Next is... this is what crosses you. And of course, it's laid out this way. It also indicates obstacles. It may be other person. Again, it could be personality traits may need to be altered now because we're talking about the present, okay? So this is what crosses you. That's the traditional interpretation or the wording when you lay it out. And it really is opposing forces, it is conflicts, and it could be obstacles. And even though this card is laid out sideways, the card is always interpreted in a positive way. And it really indicates what is standing in their way for your own self-development or prevents you from achieving or manifesting your own desires. So let's see what that card is. Oh, perfect, perfect, because we have a court card, and it can indicate personality traits that may need to be altered. So if this is what's crossing you and it is the opposite of your gender, your own makeup, then it usually you have a male energy here, or it is not you per se, but it could be a man who is giving you a hard time right now, because the card is looked at as an opposition. Very interesting that they are both water signs, you as a significator. And how I would interpret that immediately is that this person isn't, this person is someone that the client knows on an intimate, emotional level, because we're talking about emotions and emotions, okay? So there's a lot to determine here. The opposition may lead you to change. The opposition may lead you to react to the impetus. So there's a great amount of influence that your client is under because of this male energy. And because there are other people that was on top of the client, and this is what crosses you, I think they are also very much interrelated. All right, now let's go back to what I talked about in the beginning, that we now have our first of the two crosses. So the inner energy of the client right now is, let's kind of get a scenario going on here. Inner conflict, voices either outwardly being told or voices within her that she's listening to, possibly past advice, or her own inner conflicts with her shadow self or her inner self. But in reality, this is outer energy. There is a male energy that is also not cooperating and is giving the client a hard time or a difficult time or an opposing viewpoint to consider. Now, the card below it, our next card, is really going to help us as the basis of the situation, which is the traditional meeting. Let's look at that right now. This is the basis of the situation, card number 3. This is going to help us see how emotionally connected they are personally, or if this outer influence has to do with someone she is connected to in the outer world, the business world, or anything outside of her personal family and relationships. All right, a little bit more information more than I'd like to say for number 3, the traditional. This is the basis of the situation. It is also the foundation of the matter, the bottom of the vertical part of the cross. This is really, really important because we are dealing now with the unconscious, the inner part, okay? And this could be childhood, and this is why I'm talking about the child within issues surfacing. And then if that is the case, then we have to look at this as possibly a father figure or a stepfather or an authority figure or a past husband or a present husband, because we pick our mates in accordance to usually sometimes karmic ties that we are still working through or finally breaking through with our partners, our spouses, our lovers. There is that karmic tide. Okay, and I don't want to get into too much psychology here, but I'm trying to explain why I put karmic influences, and I'm so happy that the cards did come out as a court card, which is going to help us clarify that. All right, so it's the child within or issues of karmic influences. This card is also telling you about something or someone already part of the experience that you already know and you're dealing with again. And this is another reason why you are here seeking some consultation. So let's see what that card is. Wow, well, that answers as far as lovers and relationships or even a partnership. And the foundation of the matter is back to our cups here, because you are a water sign. What crosses you is a water sign, and now we have the Two of Cups. Then this has to do with romance or a friendship. And immediately, again, through past experience, I'm going to interpret this by, is the client having an internal struggle, the fire within, the passion, the libido, if you will, of a, let's say, taboo relationship that maybe has started out as a friendship or as a partnership in a place of business, and that the client maybe does not want to, realizes that it may be a detriment for her to move forward with the relationship. Or the question could be, can I move forward, and what will the outcome be if I pursue this relationship? Now, that's just all that energy that I am getting. And I would love to hear your comments about what you're getting. But that's what I'm seeing right now. Now, there's many other scenarios, of course. The other scenario could be that she, this is the basis of the situation, that she regrets that it was once a good partnership or an understanding, but that right now the situation for some reason isn't that way in her eyes, even though this card is very positive. Maybe there's more of a give and take that she's looking for. Okay, all right, so that is the bottom card number 3. Now, card number 4 is, this is behind you or the past. That's the traditional. Let's move my little crystal ball here. Not really little, but let's move it, okay. This is behind you, the past. It's something, someone, or some feeling. That's how I like to interpret card number 4. Now, we are going back to the outer, okay, our horizontal cross. Let's put this way. This is the inner feeling. Right now, her inner feeling we talked about. And so if this is in the past, and sometimes people will say, well, how long, what's the time frame? It's on the left-hand side, which helps you indicate that the time frame has to do with things that have already taken place. And usually I feel like this is no longer than, I've seen it where it was a year, and I've seen it where it was a week. So it's kind of hard to tell, but card number 3 can also help decide how to interpret this card, because it is showing how it is related. Like, this was the situation, and now this is the past. So what was it? There's so much emotions going on here. As I said, it is something, someone, or some feeling. And certainly, card number 3 is a beautiful Ace of Cups. So it is in the past. So whatever started out beautifully with what we believe this court card is representing, the client believes is no longer in the present, and that emotionally that feeling has now dissipated, has now gone. Okay. So we go and now create more of what's going on internally with card number 5. This is what crowns you and could come into being. This is your hopes, your goals, your attitude in respect to the situation or the circumstances thus far that we've just talked about. We are at the top half of the vertical line, or the vertical part of the cross, and in the head and in the mind. That's how I like to look at it. This card will indicate what direction or manner or frame of mind the seeker is headed for. We also are going to look at what the expectations of the future is. Okay, so she right now believes this is her past. This is going to be the expectation of the future. And remember that the number 5 is the halfway point between 1 and 10, and there are 10 cards in the Celtic Cross. Now, the awareness gained by cards number 1 through 4 help you make a point and of what the necessary changes is about to be. Okay, so to reiterate, this is what crowns you, may come into being, or best plan of action. I am dying to find out what it is. It is the Page of Wands reverse. Oh, so we have a lot, again, just through my own interpretation of it, inwardly. Now we're back to the fire, okay? This is definitely in her mindset, I believe. Okay. The child within. Because the pages sometimes indicate children or anyone under the age of 20. It is a fire sign, which relates to the possibility of what we spoke about earlier, that there is voices within her head. And since this does represent what is on her mind, and now we have the Page of Wands reverse, then the energy that she is trying to present to the world, her inner self, she has continually struggled with, okay? Because the card is reverse, what is on her mind now is the futility of it all. If it was upright, the client would be saying, okay, I know who I am. I've had plenty of experiences. I've loved, I've been loved, I've had partnerships, I've had wonderful emotions. They may be behind me, but here, that isn't happening. Our client is backpedaling and wondering where she went wrong, where she's not strong enough, and who she is, what her identity is. Now, so what is the best plan of action for the querent? Because this is going to have to be internally changing. The querent, the client, is going to have to change internally because we are working on the vertical line of the cross. It's the inner energy. And of course, the next card is going to help us with more information. But again, we look to the card perceiving it. And because of the loss of this relationship, it's really pulled the rug from underneath her where she doesn't believe she is who she is. And it could have been through whatever had occurred between this person and the emotional state of the situation where it is at this point. So now we are going to be doing card number 6. And this is also known as, this is before you. It's kind of the next turn of events. I'm trying to get my card out here. It is the right side of the body. Okay. This is the left side of the body. This is the right side of the body. The energy is, I call it, let me be a little bit more specific here. Now, card number 6, I called the bridge card. And we'll get into that a little bit more when we do the numerology, and I do explain the modified Celtic cross spread that I do. But I call it a bridge card because at this point, it is the completion of the 2 crosses. The first cross, which was card number 1, card number 2, and then the larger cross, cards number 3, card number 2, 3, and 5. And then we have our vertical line, which is 4, 3. Am I saying that right now? I want to make sure, because this is card number 1. This is card number 2. Okay, so just in case I said that wrong, I want to go on record by saying it right. The vertical cross, of course, is card number 1, which is on top of you. 3, 5. The horizontal cross is 4, 2, and 6. So this is the bridge now, or the end of the arm of the cross. Before we get into, let's talk about the scepter, or really it's the base of the Celtic cross, but they don't do that in the layout. It's really the bottom of a Celtic cross, if you really know what a Celtic cross looks like, but they put it on the right-hand side. So you're going now into another dimension, which of course has to do more with where the energy is outside, and of course where the future is. So this card number 6, really, it gets to the, let's say, gets to the staff of the future, number 1, and it's, which is 7, 8, 9, and 10, and it's where we must take action and what we're kind of leaving behind, because we are here to understand in the divination what we need to do when we see the scenario. We understand the energy, so now what do we do of what the cards advise? So this card is very, very important. So let's look at it. This is before you, the next step, cards 1, 4, 6, the horizontal and outer influence. Okay. And, oh, look at the, all right, everybody. Do you see how much emotion is here? And I am looking because I don't think all of this is on the monitor. And I want to make sure you are seeing this layout completely here. Okay, yes. I'm glad I stood up to look at the phone. All right. So this is card layout number 6. And this is what we got. And what I want to bring to your attention is the cups. We basically have 2 fire, the wands, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 water signs, cups. Now, what is cups? Having to do with feelings, emotions, love, caring, healing, positive and negative. And as I explained earlier before, with the 2 fire, that is a hard energy to balance or to reconcile unless there is an understanding. So going back to number 6, this is before you, the next step, all right? And it is on the outer cross. So we look at cards, number Ace of Cups, we have the 5 of Wands, and then we have the 9 of Cups, which is basically called the Wish card. It's a beautiful card, but it's tempered. It is reversed. So the good news is there is going to be a reconciliation as soon as she is willing to deal with what has gone on. So right now, in the state that she is in, she is not, right? And that's the outer energy. And it is telling you in card number 6, this is before you, and the next step for her to do before she even begins to understand her future in a positive way, the right mindset, is to deal with what has been going on for quite a while, because right now we are at the 9 level. And anytime you have someone who is closing down, when I also teach the tarot, I ask you to kind of have soft eyes. And what I mean by that is you look at the complete layout of the cards, and where your eyes kind of land or focus on that card, there is energy that the unconscious, that spirit, that whatever you want to call, your energy guides, your spirit guides, your higher self is having you focus on. Immediately, I was focusing on over here, her or his locked up arms, where you are crossing the solar plex, the seat of the emotions in the chakra system, right there, the stomach and a little bit of the heart. Yet, I found it that it was not really a detriment. I went on to understand that I also saw it as a bottom of a triangle, and that is water. Whenever there is a triangle heading down, that is water, and the triangle heading up is fire, which is exactly what we are dealing with. And her emotions are flooded, okay? So she's too much in the heart. And here, if the card is reversed, she certainly isn't grounded. Where when the card is right side up and you have both legs open and firmly planted on the ground, this is why it's the Wish card. things are going to happen for you, and you're going to be able to create them with the red hat, have them come through you, and then manifest and get grounded. And there's a lot of thinking here with the yellow. There's a great amount of thinking, and you have the unconscious in the background with this what isn't revealed. Okay, what's being hidden under this table? And of course, when it's reverse, we know that if we look at what these cards represent, let's see, this is what covers you, okay? We're dealing a lot with the inner self and the shadow, okay? If you read what I have as interpretations here, personality traits may need to be altered now. So there's a great deal of the unconscious shadow energy that the client is going to have to work with. All right, I think I'm going to end it now. And then we will come back and do another video. We will continue, and we will do cards 6, 7, 8, and 9. I think what I will do is make sure that I lay out the cards. I understand them. And give you a few minutes here. I'll put them underneath. I think that might be the smart way, so I can record the cards as they have come out. All right. And card number 6. Okay. So this is what crosses you. All right, so if you're writing down notes, this is the first card on top of the significator. This is the second card. This is what crosses you, obstacles, maybe other people, personality traits may need to be altered now. Okay. And we're going to leave it there. I'm hoping that this was a little easier to understand than what I think I was trying to explain. And I appreciate everyone listening. I welcome your thoughts and comments. Thanks for everybody who subscribes, and looking forward to finishing this reading. I think it's going to be fascinating to see how it all works out. Thanks everyone for joining me today. Let's say bye for now.